Yo, what is up, guys? Still an aka Christian Deputy here, and today I am going to be doing a draft analysis on my draft league, the Altered Creation Draft League. We did go ahead and finish our draft last week, and I'm really excited about this because I finally got to mess around with Mega Abomasnow. I was, I think, 4th round pick for the draft, and I really wanted to try something like Dragapult and Heatran together so that Heatran could complement my Abomasnow with Flash Fire and like Stealth Rock, as well as getting rid of that poison weakness, and then being a fire type that isn't weak to rock, but it is weak to fighting. Although I was going to grab a bunch of stuff like Slowking and then like a ghost type and things like that so that we were able to deal with those fighting types. But let's go ahead and get started. So for my first round pick, I picked Tapu Koko. As I mentioned, I wanted Dragapult, but that got sniped like pick 2. And then the guy that picked before me also wanted to get Dragapult, so it looked like I wasn't even going to be getting it if that second round pick or that second pick guy didn't pick it. So I went ahead and picked Tapu Koko. So I really wanted to use Tapu Koko for a long time, but I always have really bad luck in drafts where I get like bottom 10 picks. So I don't really ever get to pick Tapu Koko since it is one of those picks that go really early, like round 6 probably. But I do like Koko a lot. It gets a lot of really good coverage, like it gets Grass Knot here, and then since I did allow Hidden Power and things like Pursuit, Return, and Frustration, things like that for my league, this was going to be a really good pick. It also has like Brave Bird to deal with the grass types it doesn't like if they're chipped enough, and then like even like Acrobatics, so I don't have to like take damage from the recoil. And then obviously it gets its Electric and Fairy attacks, it gets Return, it gets Facade, Frustration. It also gets Steel coverage for other fairies like Clefable, who are, I think really like strong bulky fairy type may be an issue for me, aside from like my Arcanine, who I'll talk about later. But what I really liked about Koko is that it also gets U-turn instead of Volt Switch as well, so that I can just U-turn on weeks where people are having that like really strong ground type that doesn't really want to come in on Koko. And then it also has Roost, so I can afford to run items like Life Orb on it, which could be really good. And then even Quick Attack could be like a really solid option if I ever need that. And then it obviously gets its really good electric coverage from Thunderbolt, Thunder Punch, and Wild Charge. It also gets some like really nice stuff down here, like Electro Web. That could be really decent, although it probably will never use that unless I'm trying to like Electro Web so that I can Volt Switch into like Abomasnow here, and then try and do some damage with that. Also get something like Mirror Move to copy a move. Nature's Madness could be really good to chip a really strong threat and then just slam it with a Thunderbolt under terrain. And a Skydrop could be really interesting, but that's mostly a doubles thing, so I probably won't ever be using like things like that. So a lot of stuff went. I was expecting Heatran to go because I always have this like curse of whenever I want to draft Mega Abomasnow, people pick Heatran round 2, and then when I don't want to pick Mega Abomasnow, it goes like round 4 to 6. So, and then unfortunately the curse is real, so Heatran was picked round 2, I believe like 6 picks before I was able to pick again. So I thought, okay, let me get a really important piece to my draft to complement Abomasnow in Slowbro. So Slowbro is really good here because it can also check fire types and fighting types, as well as rock types, since it does beat them with its water typing. And then, I mean, Oblivious could be decent if I want to like make sure I get Trick Rooms up, but Regenerator is almost always going to be what I'm bringing. So I really wanted to pick Slowbro because I could run something like Trick Room on it and then teleport out into Abomasnow against things that want to be in against Slowbro. like an electric type or a grass type. And then, so yeah, that was my pick, my second pick for the second round. And then I went ahead, since I do have a like sort of wheel pick and Tornadus Therian was still available, I figured, okay, well, let me go ahead and start off on a really strong core here, right? So I get Slowbro and Tornadus, both have regen, which is really good, and they both have ways of getting out. Our Slowbro in the form of teleport, and then the Torn in the form of U-turn. And then Tornadus is really good in draft. It has a lot of coverage. I think its like main downside is like Hurricane, but aside from that, it's really good. Like I like even Air Slash could be a really good bring where you don't need the immediate power from Hurricane and don't want to risk the miss, because it also has the 30% chance to flinch, but it can also run things like bulk up, and then new moves aren't allowed on it yet. Well, for this league, for this season, I'm not going to be allowing new moves, so it would have potentially gotten Nasty Plat, but that's not going to be till later. So it does have that bulk up option, which is really nice, and a lot of good physical moves like Crunch, it gets knockoff, Hammer Arm, Acrobatics, so I could run like a no item set. It gets like Foul Play for things that want to set up against it, Iron Tail, and then things like Superpower. And again, I already mentioned it gets U-turn. Also has Taunt, Toxic, and Tailwind. Tailwind could be really good to, we'll click Tailwind and then U-turn into something like Abomasnow, maybe. And then heal up some. And then as for special coverage is just insane. It gets Psychic, Poison, well, like, obviously it's flying. We have hidden powers, we have Fire and Heat Wave, Grass Knot, Extra Sensory, Focus Blast, Dark Pulse. Like, it's really good. I really like Torn, and again, I almost never get to pick it because it is one of those mons that also gets picked kind of early because it's really good. So, really glad this was somehow up for round 3. For round 4, I went ahead and picked the Garchomp. So, Garchomp really helps form a really strong offensive core with our Tapu Koko here. Tapu Koko really doesn't like being in against steel types, because they are pretty bulky and they deal with its fairy type, especially something like maybe Excadrill. But what I can do is just U-turn into the Garchomp, right? Instead of Volt Switch on something like an Excadrill, and just start clicking Earthquakes on things. It also gets really solid coverage, and it has a decent special attack stat in base 80, which means we can abuse things like Fire Blast, Flamethrower. We could even use something like Surf to catch other like ground types, bulky physical ground types like Donphan. We could even bring like really interesting sets and like Whirlpool, Rest, Toxic, right? Like that could be a really funny bring. But, I mean, we have Sandtomb here, so it probably won't be too important to bring it. It also gets a natural gift if I really need to hit something with, like, a 4 times effective hit 1 week. And then, obviously, like, standard Garchomp things, Stealth Rock, Stone Edge, Sub, Sword Stance, like, Rock Slide. Does get nice coverage in Steel, Poison, Ghost, as well as the Fire we already mentioned, and Water, Dark, Fighting. Like, those are really good coverage moves. And then it obviously gets things like Dragon Claw, Outrage, so that it's able to just slam things really hard with its base 130 attack stat. And then having a base speed over 100 is also really good on a Pokemon like this, especially when it's a Dragon and Ground type. Probably 2 of the best offensive types now. Well, maybe Fairy could be a better attacking type now, but I'm kind of iffy on that. I mean, Dragon's only resisted by Steel and then immune to Fairy, and then ground deals with the steel type. So this type combination is really good. Could also bring like bulkier spreads because it does have a really good HP and defensive stat, as well as a special defense stat of 85. So it's really decent, really bulky. I really like Garchomp in draft. And then, so as I mentioned before, I got sniped of Heatran, so I decided let's get another potential Flash Firemon for our Mega Abomasnow. And then, so my top 5 picks here, aside from Garchomp, all have a way to bring Abomasnow in. Like, as of Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, a lot of Gen 1 mons got Teleport, so something like Arcanine could bring like Flare Blitz, Teleport, Morning Sun, and like Will-O-Wisp. Right, we get a slow teleport in from our Arcanine, which should be really good. You know, most things I want to come into Arcanine are like ground types, water types, and Mega Abomasnow really just loves being in against those ground and water types, so it can get a free, really strong hit for free on something, or even get a knockout if they decide that they can't afford to take chip from the hail and the attack. But even then, Arcanine does have really good options. It has a really good attack and special attack stat, as well as a very nice speed stat. It is under 100, but 95 is practically 100, so it's really good as a speed tier there. And it gets things like agility here, it gets close combat, which is super good, crunch, and I mean double edge, but I will probably be running extreme speed if we ever want to run a normal type attack. And then obviously we get our Flare Blitz, we get Flame Charge if we need to get faster. We could also go special with Dragon Pulse, fire, our fire attacks, hidden powers. And it also gets Iron Head, Outrage as a physical. It got Play Rough and Psychic Fangs this Gen 8. Then it also gets Scorching Sands, so I could even potentially not run Will-O-Wisp to use Scorching Sands instead. And then obviously it gets its Recovery and Morning Sun, it gets Will-O-Wisp, it gets Toxic, Superpower, Substitute, Wild Charge. It even gets a Blind Attack here. I really like Arcanine, and I almost never get to use it because someone always picks it, because, you know, it's really good. Arcanine is just one of those really good fire types. It's like Heatran, and then I think Incineroar are like some of the better fire types. Although, and maybe even like Charizard now with heavy duty boots, that could be really decent. That could be really, yeah, decent, I guess. I'm not gonna say extremely good, but yeah, Charizard can also be really decent as a fire type. So now, the star of the show, Mega Abomasnow. I did plan my whole draft around this, and I've been really wanting to use this for a long time. It gets a lot of really good options. Like, I could run Aurora Veil on it since it does set up its own hail. Blizzard, obviously, so we don't miss. We have fighting coverage, ground coverage here. Let me see. We have Giga Drain and Leaf Storm. We also have Grass Knot. Could also run Ice Beam if someone has like an opposing weather or something. We have Ice Shard to be able to pick stuff off with our monstrous attack and special attack stat. So the only thing holding Mega Abomasnow back is its speed, but I did go ahead and draft about 1, 2, 3 Pokemon with Trick Room so that I am able to, you know, potentially abuse that. It also gets like Dragon Attack, Leech Seed. Could also run Rockmo, Shadow Ball. I get Synthesis too if I need to, you know, if I need to stay in with regular Abomasnow with like Soundproof, so that we could just be bulky and heal stuff up. And then still gets Toxic. It gets Swords Dance, which could be really good. So we could run like Swords Dance, Woodhammer, Earthquake, and like Ice Shard, and that could be really decent. Then for little like random things, we have Frost Breath here. Grassy Glide could be really decent if I'm facing up against like a Rillaboom or a Tapu Bulu 1 week. We could bring that, be fast, well, not faster, right? But we could hit before something with our grass attack if we ever need to do that. Sadly, this is going to be useless because obviously it can't run and berry since I do have the Mega Stone. Then, let me see. Yeah, it's pretty decent. It also gets Water Pulse if I ever need to like run a random water attack, and a hidden power. But aside from that, I'm really looking forward to using Mega Bombaston. It's always been super cool to me, and being able to draft it and draft really well around it is really exciting for me. So then, again, I feel a grounded poison type is really important in drafts so that you are able to not have to rely on things like Defog or Heavy Duty Boots Rapid Spin, so that you're able to get rid of toxic spikes. And so, I mean, Kunai is a really bad ability. I mean, this is almost never gonna matter, but things like I could do sniper focus energy things, that could be really cool. And then also battle armor, meaning I can't get crit with this base 110 defense stat will be really good to just soak some hits and then potentially pursuit or knock something off. It also has really strong coverage in Aqua Tail. It gets Earthquake, it gets a fire attack, it gets ice attack, gets a bug attack and leech life, which got buffed last gen, so that's really good. It also gets Lash Out. If something wants to come in and intimidate us, we're gonna be able to do a lot of damage with that. The unfortunate thing is it got Iron Defense but no like body press, even so that would have been really cool. But it also gets like Rock Slide, and then obviously the main reason why I picked it, Grounded Poison, and it learns Toxic Spikes. It can also run Whirlwind so that I'm able to phase things out. And then things like Taunt, Sword Stance could be really useful too. I think none of the moves here are too important, except for like maybe like Fell Stinger if I want to like quick agility and then Fell Stinger on something that's like really low. But aside from that, this could be really decent. I really always liked Drapion, and I feel this season is going to be really good for me as a grounded poison type. So I also went ahead and picked Audino here. I picked Audino over another normal like regen mon or even like Licky Licky because I wanted the most important thing for me, Trick Room. So Trick Room was going to be really important for me as an option, and it also gets regen to pair with one of these guys to still keep my regen core. And even then, I mean, its stats for attack are really bad, but it has really good coverage in like Ice Beam, Flamethrower, Thunderbolt, so it gets Bolt Beam and the fire attack. And it obviously gets like Psychic, Ghost, it gets Bug, Water, it gets Toxic, and obviously gets Wish and Yawn, which is what I really wanted to pick it for, the Wish. And then we could even run like Magic Coat to go up against like Suicide Lead Mons. Knockoff could be decent. Like if I ever need a 4 times effective move, Audino's probably gonna be able to have it and be able to 2-hit KO something, or even 1-hit KO something that's really weak. But yeah, being able to deal with ghost types as a normal type is really good for me, even though I do have the Drapion to potentially run like Assault Vest or be like a really heavy investment on the special attack and like Click Pursuit on a ghost type. But just to be safe, I did want to pick Audino because again it has Trick Room and Generator and then really good coverage as well as Wish. So Audino's mostly my cleric for this draft. So then I realized I needed a ghost type. Ghost types are really good so that we don't get run over by random normal types that want to bring like Bandit Return or things like that. So I picked Dusknoir for this. I think Dusknoir got a really nice buff in Poltergeist, so it actually has an attack now, aside from like Shadow Punch, but that's not really a move. And then, having a base 100 attack stat is really nice, as well as also having Trick Room. So, me being a VGC player, I figured, hey, what's the ghost type that learns Trick Room? I was like, oh, yeah, Dusclops. Dusclops is Trick Room. It's one of the best Trick Roomers in the metagame. Well, before Porygon came back. But, yeah, so I figured, okay, well, let's go ahead and grab Dusknoir so that we're able to also put offensive pressure with its newly gained Poltergeist. So, it also gets Pain Split. It can do things like Nightshade, Haze. It can go like Willow Hex, which I probably won't ever do with that 65 base. It also gets really good coverage. Gets Fighting, gets Dark, Ground, Fire, Ice, Electric, Rock here. And then we could even run things like Sucker Punch or Toxic. And then Will-O-Wisp is a given. Maybe something like Sub Pain Split could be really nice. And then, and if only this broken move was available for singles. And then even like maybe something like Future Sight could be really nice, since Slowbros like to do like teleport, slack off, Future Sight and Scald, but here I could do like teleport, Future Sight and slack off if I don't need the water attack, and this could basically do the same, but obviously way weaker since it doesn't get stab on it or anything. But obviously it also gets hidden powers, things like that. So really excited to use Dusknoir. Obviously, of course, its most important thing for me is it getting Trick Room. And then, so I wanted a strong fighting type. I did look into Primeape as well, since it is 10 base points higher in its speed stat, but it's also way less bulky. And I mean, Sock having Sturdy doesn't really help it. Well, it does. I guess it could live like a hit and then knock something out if it's at full. With its 125 base, even like Psychic types don't want to come in on this guy because it obviously has knockoff like most fighting types, and then Mold Breaker and Inner Focus even is really good so that we're immune to Intimidate and we could just hit with like banded close combats or like Earthquakes, right? Things like Low Kick, Knockoff, Ice Punch. It gets Poison Jab for its Fairy coverage, Rock Slide for flying coverage, Stone Edge, also gets Thunder Punch, and Taunt. So that could be really nice, something like Taunt set on Sock, since it does have some speed, right? And it could do like Taunt to break Stall, which is what I really like in my Pokemon, because I don't want to be facing a bunch of Pokemons with like Garchomp, Koko, Abomasnow, right? That don't really hit extremely hard, I'd say, unless I like band them, right? Unless I give them a choice item. Obviously, Mega Abomasnow can't have a choice item. And then, as my last pick, I had like 2 points left over after picking all of these guys. So I figured, okay, well, I guess I still need a Steel type. And Alolan Sandslash just really obviously complements my Abomasnow because it does get Slush Rush with that Snow Warning, so that it's able to potentially, with this base 100 attack, it's not that strong, but being base 65 at double speed could be really good for teams that are weak to ice types, because a lot of teams are actually really weak to ice if they don't draft like 2 steels, right? So they'll have like a steel type, a water type, and a fire type, and that's it, right? So that's it. That's all they'll have to resist ice. So even this being that fast, and this can also click a Royal Veil for instead of Abomasnow, so that it gets the extra attack. Obviously we get things like Rapid Spin. This thing got spikes too, so that's really cool. This is our Spikesmon. And then you got Triple Axle too in Gen 8 due to the new DLC when it came back. And it does get really good coverage. It gets like Knockoff, it gets Leech Life, Night Slash, Shadow Claw even, Rock Attack. get Steel Roller if I want to bring a stronger attack than Iron Head against someone that has the terrain, or even in my terrain, right? I have Tapu Koko come in, and if I have the terrain still up, I can click Steel Roller and have a really strong attack outside of Iron Head. Now, obviously, it's things like Icicle Crash, Ice Punch, Icicle Spear to break sashes, but Triple Axle will probably be the move to bring, as well as Earthquake. So, yeah, well, guys, I do hope I'm able to do really well with this team, and thank you for watching.